Tonight, when you wade into warm ocean water on vacation, you feel sand between your toes. You feel nothing else. But beneath certain stretches of the Mediterranean, beneath water that tourists swim through every single summer, an entire city is still standing. Streets, temples, harbors, statues frozen mid-gesture for over 1,000 years. You are not imagining a myth right now. You are standing, quite literally, on top of one of the busiest ports the ancient world ever built. For centuries, people called it a legend, a drowned city that existed only in old stories, mentioned by ancient writers but never found. Some assumed it was fiction, a moral tale about a place too proud to survive. Others assumed it had simply been swallowed by exaggeration, the way old stories grow taller with every retelling. They were wrong. In the year 2000, a French underwater archaeologist named Frank Gaudio led a team into the murky waters of Abu Qir Bay, off the coast of Egypt. He was not chasing a myth. He was following sonar readings, old textual clues, and a hunch that something massive was hiding beneath the silt. What his team found changed Mediterranean archaeology forever. Beneath roughly 30 feet of water and centuries of sediment lay the remains of Thonis-Heracleion, a city so large and so wealthy that ancient Greek historians once described it as the gateway between Egypt and the rest of the known world. Picture it at its peak. Massive temples dedicated to the god Ammonius. Bronze statues of pharaohs, 20 feet tall, gazing out over a harbor packed with trading ships. Coins from Athens, pottery from Cyprus, anchors from 100 different home ports, all tangled together in the mud of one drowned dock. This was not a small fishing village. This was one of the most important commercial hubs in the ancient Mediterranean. So how does a city this powerful simply vanish beneath the waves? The answer lies in the ground itself, not in some sudden catastrophe most people imagine. Geologists studying the site, including researchers who worked alongside Gaudio's team, found that the land beneath Thonis-Heracleion was built on a foundation of unstable sediment, primarily clay and sand deposited by the Nile over thousands of years. This kind of ground has a dangerous property. Under stress, it can lose strength almost instantly. Engineers call it liquefaction. Imagine solid ground behaving, for a few terrifying moments, like wet sand at the edge of the tide. Solid 1 second, soup the next. Now combine that unstable ground with two other forces working against the city for centuries. The land itself was slowly sinking, a process called subsidence, as the weight of temples and harbors compressed the soft earth beneath them. At the same time, sea levels in the region were rising gradually after the end of the last major glacial period. Slow sinking, rising water, unstable ground. Three quiet enemies, working for generations, largely unnoticed by the people living their daily lives in the city. Then came the violent finishing blow. Evidence uncovered at the site, along with historical accounts and seismic studies of the eastern Mediterranean, points to a combination of earthquakes and tsunami events striking the Nile Delta region. A 2016 study examining the underwater ruins observed fracture patterns and collapsed structures consistent with a sudden seismic event layered on top of centuries of gradual sinking. The instability that had already weakened the city's foundation simply could not hold any longer. A historian studying the region, Christophe Morange, examined sediment cores from the area and found clear evidence supporting this combined story. The land hadn't just slowly sunk. At a critical point, it had also been jolted, possibly by an earthquake-triggered liquefaction event, dropping entire sections of the city downward almost instantly. Imagine standing in a temple courtyard, and the ground beneath your feet simply stops behaving like ground. Within what may have been hours, certainly within a single human lifetime, what had once been bustling streets sat fully underwater. No grand battle, no invading army, no dramatic single moment recorded in surviving texts. Just a city, slowly betrayed by the very earth it was built on, and then finished off in a final violent instant. What makes this disappearance so unsettling isn't the speed, it's the silence. Thonis-Heracleion did not fall to war or conquest. There was no enemy to blame, no villain for ancient writers to curse in their histories. There was only geography, patient and indifferent, doing what unstable coastal land does over enough time. For more than 1,000 years afterward, the city existed only in fragments of old text, mentioned briefly by Greek historians like Herodotus, who described a temple at Heracleion near the mouth of the Nile. Scholars debated for generations whether he was describing a real place or blending several smaller sites into one legendary location. The water had not just hidden a city. It had erased an entire chapter of how people understood ancient trade in the Mediterranean. When Gaudio's team finally mapped the site using sonar and magnetometers, they uncovered roughly 4 square miles of ruins, temple foundations, ship hulls preserved in oxygen-poor mud, hundreds of small religious artifacts, untouched for over 1,000 years because the very water that destroyed the city also sealed it shut from looters and decay. In some strange way, the disaster preserved what it destroyed. You should sit with that for a moment. The same forces that drowned an entire civilization also protected it, freezing it in place far better than most cities left standing on dry land, exposed to wind, war, and centuries of human hands. Now think about where you live. Think about coastal cities you have visited, or perhaps even your own hometown, if it sits anywhere near a river delta, a bay, or a stretch of soft coastal soil. Modern engineers studying cities like Jakarta, Venice, and parts of the American Gulf Coast describe the exact same combination of risks that doomed Thonis-Heracleion. Soft, sediment-heavy ground, gradual subsidence from the sheer weight of urban development, rising sea levels creeping inward, millimeter by millimeter, year after year. The difference is that you have instruments to measure it now. Satellites tracking land elevation, sensors recording seismic activity in real time, climate models projecting decades into the future. Thonis-Heracleion had none of that. Its people simply lived their lives, traded their goods, prayed in their temples, and trusted the ground beneath them the same way you trust the ground beneath your own city today, until the day they no longer could. So the next time you stand on a beach, or walk through a coastal city, or watch the tide roll gently up the shore, remember that the ocean does not need a single dramatic moment to take a city. Sometimes it only needs patience. Tonight, when you wade into warm ocean water on vacation, you feel sand between your toes. Somewhere beneath you, or beneath a coastline very much like it, the ground is still quietly deciding how long it intends to hold.